Support for the Living Well with MS podcast is provided by Overcoming MS, a global charity registered in the United States, United Kingdom and Australia, whose mission is to educate, support and empower people with MS in evidence-based lifestyle and medication choices that can improve their health outcomes. Please visit our website at www.overcomingms.org to learn more about our work and hear directly from people around the world about the positive impact overcoming MS has made on their lives. Now, on to today's episode. Welcome back to the Overcoming MS Living Well with Multiple Sclerosis podcast. I'm Jeff Alex, and in this episode we'll be talking about the exercise pillar of the OMS program. Joining me for this episode is Véronique Gauthier-Simmons, yoga teacher, OMS event host and founder of Taming the Walrus, a yoga for MS website. Véronique started yoga in 2000 at the age of 34 when she was diagnosed with relapsing remitting MS. Even though she was convinced that yoga would be boring, she decided to join a yoga class. She now knows that doing yoga and sticking to it was one of the best decisions she ever made. So with that, I'd like to introduce Véronique, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the exercise portion of this. I didn't actually use your surname there because I'm not 100% pronunciation. Is it Gauthier-Simmons? Is that correct?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Gauthier-Simmons.
So, welcome, Véronique.
Well, thank you.
And to start off with, could you just tell us a little bit about your background, MS, OMS, and what you're doing to help your MS?
Yep. So I was diagnosed with MS, with relapsing remitting MS in 2000, but I had the first symptoms probably 2 or 3 years before that. I, at the time, I was really doing a lot of sports, like in the gym, step aerobics, and I was doing also some squash and spinning and all that. And it wasn't really great for my MS symptoms at the time, so I decided to look for a softer, lower impact option, and that's when I started yoga. And I thought I wouldn't like it because I thought it would be boring, but I discovered you can really do an awful lot with yoga, and it was so good for me that I decided to become a teacher and also to become a yoga therapist.
And were you doing anything with the other, what we now think of the OMS pillars with diet and mindfulness and so on?
Not at the beginning. When I was first diagnosed, basically the neurologist told me the only thing we can do is to start interferon treatment. And that's what I did for 3 years, but I didn't like it at all. You know, I felt like a zombie and I looked like a zombie, and I decided to stop that. But then to look after myself and to look at all the options, the diet and my lifestyle, and that's when I started to look at the diet. But I didn't know OMS yet, so first I just looked at more vegetarian diet because I was also doing yoga, and that's part of the lifestyle of yogi. And
so actually by doing yoga, you probably almost accidentally came across the mindfulness and the diet side of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
Because when I started my yoga teacher training, then it was compulsory to be vegetarian, and also meditation was part anyway of the yoga training. So I already had these aspects in my life. And then I discovered OMS, I think about 7 years ago. And it was great because the diet for me, I think I was missing some nutrients. It wasn't, vegetarian diet wasn't really, the answer, because I was still eating dairy. And so when I moved on to the OMS diet, I really felt that's it. I feel much, much better now. So, but I had already the exercise and the meditation practice in my, daily routine. So I was nearly there.
It actually came up in the previous podcast, which is about the diet, which I know you've lived a lot of different places around Europe, but it came up about France being one of the harder countries to travel to, actually.
I know.
With,
I mean, I left I left France when I was 21, which was a long time ago. And each time I go there on a holiday, I think, oh my God, it's so difficult to be even just vegetarian. But then if you are not eating cheese or if you are not eating eggs, it's really, really difficult.
Yeah, I've
But
been to France a couple of times since I've been following OMS, and they do look at you strangely if you don't want to eat cheese.
I know.
The national obsession of eating cheese.
Yeah,
Anyway,
exactly.
sorry, that's just a little aside. We're supposed to be talking about exercise. And then, so you've set up Taming the Walrus, which I've seen previously to this, as a really useful resource for people who are following OMS,
Yeah.
to show you some of the things you can do with MS and yoga.
Yeah, because I thought that it was so helpful for me. It really changed my life to do yoga. It helped me to manage the stress, the anxiety, and there are many different styles of yoga. So yoga can be very soft, low impact. It can be more cardiovascular, depending on which style you practice. But I thought, it really helped me to manage my symptoms and also to be less anxious. So it was very, very helpful. I think the one thing that maybe I add now beside yoga is strengthening, because strengthening is very important as well. So I also now go to the gym, for instance, to do some resistance training, to do really some work to make sure that my muscles are strong and flexible. So yeah, it's important to include as well that in your practice.
So there is lots of different MS guidelines encouraging different things. There's an MS gym on Facebook. There's some things on OMS, such as some yoga exercises on the OMS website. There's other various groups like Better Bet Diet and things like this, where they encourage different things. So there's sometimes yoga, but then running, swimming. You've mentioned resistance training, free weights. How would you decide? Is there a sort of best one? Would you start off with a particular thing and then move on to others, or is there a better one for most people?
I think it depends. I mean, first thing, it depends on your condition. So if you have nearly no symptoms, or if you are in a really good shape, then I would say just do whatever you like doing, but make sure that you include some strengthening as well. And then if you have some issues with balance, then maybe try to do something in the pool, for instance, some aqua aerobics or some swimming, where you are sure you're not going to injure yourself. And if you cannot do normal exercise, then maybe look if you can do some exercise with an electrical bike or with a functional electrical stimulation. So it depends first on your condition and also on what you like. The thing is, you need to keep going. You need to be motivated to continue practicing forever. So if you find something that you enjoy, it's much easier to be motivated. So yeah,
so if you're thinking, I
act.
really don't want to go to that class or that gym, then that's probably not the right activity.
Yeah, I think it's very hard then to stay motivated, but you can still try, and maybe if you're in a group, then what will motivate you is to go and meet this group again, because there's especially in group activity, there's a social aspect of exercise, which can be very important as well. You go and you meet people, and it's nice to have this kind of weekly or twice a week meeting this same group of people. So yeah, sometimes people, when they see that I've got MS and I'm really, really fit, they think, oh, you're lucky. And my reaction is to say, well, I'm not lucky. I think I am good because of all that I do, because I follow this program strictly. The only thing where I say I'm lucky is I'm lucky that I like moving. So it's much easier for me because I enjoy sport. I enjoy trying different things. But the good thing is that now you've got so many options. Like, if you don't like going to the gym, maybe you like dancing. I tried, for instance, tango. Yeah, tango is hard work. It seriously is for your legs and for the posture. It's a good workout. I mean, I heard you laugh a little bit, but I think you should try tango.
The reason I'm laughing is because I was a terrible dancer before I had MS.
Yeah, and now you're better?
Well, no, not exactly. I tried to do dance classes so that when I got married with my wife, we would have a wonderful first dance, and it didn't work out very well. And now my balance isn't very good, so it's the dancing bit's probably got worse. But no, I'm very much. I mean, I was very active before. I ran a marathon probably about 10 years ago now. I used to surf a lot. I used to rock climb, and actually, what I quite like with exercise is to have a goal. And so I can't surf now. There's you have to pop up onto a surfboard when you sort of get to the standing up bit, and you have to do it very quickly. And I have real trouble with my left leg, but I do have this. I will be able to surf again. That is an absolute. That's a real target. And similarly, rock climbing, I'd like to do it again, and I slightly worry about the safety aspect. But then you can go to climbing walls and do it in a very, very safe way. And so those are sort of targets that I have that I'd like to do. And I'd love to be able to run further again as well. So it's good to have like that as a target where I can think, okay, I can try and get there.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you. And the thing that I would say for that is I'm getting better and better all the time. And when I was diagnosed 18 years ago, I could never have run like even 2 kilometers. And last year I ran my first half marathon. So I think for me, if you keep working on it, you will improve. And I hope, my target is to run a marathon for OMS. I'm not sure when, if it's next year or the one after, but it is my target. I really want to do that one day, just one. I probably won't want to do it twice, but it's good to have targets like this.
That was my thinking before I had MS, was to do one marathon. I didn't really intend to do another one. I very much ticked it off. So do you think it's best to stay within my comfort zone or push boundaries and really sort of work as absolutely as hard as you can when you're doing exercise?
Well, it depends where you start from. So if you're completely new to exercise, obviously you need to start slowly and build up little by little. Otherwise, you might injure yourself. So start slowly, but once you reach a certain level, then you can really push yourself a little bit harder. Research now shows that it's good to push yourself to go a little bit harder for instance, when you strengthen, it's good to do high intensive training, for instance. But when you start, go slowly, be safe.
Okay, but so if you get really exhausted, it's not going to hurt your MS? Because I know initially, my father had MS and he was very much told to really stay within his comfort zone. But the worst case scenario, it won't make your MS any worse if you get really exhausted.
No, it's important to say that. I know as well, when I was diagnosed, I was told to stop physical activity. But now it's proven that it's not going to make your MS worse. It's the opposite. It's going to make it better. Exercise has disease-modifying effect. So it switches the immune balance away from inflammation. So the more exercise you do, the better for your MS. So it might be that, when you practice afterwards, you feel maybe, you have a sensation, sensory symptoms, or you're a bit more fatigued, but this won't make your MS worse. Exercise is good for you, and you should really try to include exercise 3 times or 5 times a week, half an hour each time. It's really, really important to manage MS.
And would you target the areas that you're less able? So I very much, MS has for some reason affected my left side of my body. I'm guessing there's probably a lesion in the right side of my brain or something, but it's certainly my left side strength is less, all the way from my foot to my fingers. I'm less strong left side than I am right side. Would you sort of target those areas? Is that something that exercise can overcome? Because the muscles aren't less strong, it's just I think the messages to the brain.
It's not the muscles, even if you strengthen the muscle, if the message doesn't go through, it won't really influence that. So I would keep a holistic approach and work on everything. If you've got balance issues, I would work on making sure that your core is strong, for instance. Well, that's a lot what we do in yoga. We work a lot on the core strength, and that helps with balance. But you need to work on the upper body, the lower body, the core, everything as much as possible.
And with classes, you said classes are good because you get to meet other people and socialise as well. Are most classes happy to modify what they do? Because obviously some things are going to be hard for people with mobility issues or without complete mobility.
Well, the one thing you should do is talk to the teacher, to the instructor, because the instructor, whether it's yoga or Pilates or whatever class you do, should know what your issues are and then give you an alternative. Or maybe if you go to a teacher, the teacher might say, listen, I'm not sure what you can do. I would recommend you go to another class, or you go to a one-to-one class at the beginning. But talk to the teacher. In yoga, there are loads of options to modify poses. So, if you cannot do the balance poses, then you might go close to the wall, or you might work with a chair, or, so you can really modify depending on the symptoms that you have.
And there are actually,
talk to the teachers.
On the OMS website, there's quite a few yoga exercises on there actually as well, aren't there, which are adapted?
Yeah, exactly. So you can practice these and see how you feel and how it works for you.
And for people who've been doing OMS for a while, is there with exercise, is there anything which is sort of somewhat changing, certainly since the books, that you'd say that the advice might slightly have moved forward?
Well, the main thing is now really the stress on include strengthening as well in your exercise routine, because that definitely is important. And
so whether that's sort of like using a machine or free weights or those sort of things.
Yeah, but also, you can do some resistance training without any prop. You can, for instance, if you do lunges, lunges are quite tough. The only thing you do is with your body, but you're working against gravity, and that is quite strengthening as well. So, you can do quite a lot. It doesn't have to be with the weights. It doesn't have to be in a gym.
Okay, so it's just that distinction between cardio and resistance.
Mm.
And just one final thing. I know I'm the host, but there was actually something I wanted to bring up, which is that in the UK, and I don't know if this applies to everyone, but it might be worth finding out. I have a neurological physio, and they actually do exercise classes. There's a weekly exercise class that we go to at a local school gym, and they're quite useful because it's a neurological physio. So although there's only one other person with MS who regularly goes, but they're really similar, actually, people who've got head injuries or other conditions, and they adapt things there. So I don't know who it would apply to, but it's worth checking out whether your healthcare professionals have something dedicated.
Definitely, and it might be the the MS centers, the MS societies in the locally. They might have some classes. They might have some equipment as well, like the the electrical bikes or the functional electrical simulation bikes. They might be there available for you, or you could have some. I know that where I used to live in England, they had as well a kayak club, and you could practice kayak. As well with a group of people with MS. So there are more and more options available in different countries. So it's definitely worth looking and asking around what you can do.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Yeah, if not, you can look online as well. But I teach as well online, so I think it's good as well. But sometimes, especially if you're completely new to a practice, it's good to have a teacher that you can ask, and a teacher that can correct your position, correct what you do. So, if possible, especially at the beginning, try to go to either a class or to go to your physiotherapist, your occupational therapist, or try to talk to someone, because then you can ask, is that correct? Or I feel I've got a pain when I do that. What can I do? So it's important to be able to ask these questions as well.
Okay, that's fantastic. I think that's all the questions I had. That's been really, really useful. Sort of some of the tips there, and actually sort of where things are going, where resistance works, useful, and really just getting something you enjoy, and that classes are a really good idea. So I just wanted to thank you for joining us on this podcast.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's been very, very useful. So thank you very much, Véronique.
Oh, thank you. And I wish everybody all the best with their OMS program.
With that, I'd like to thank you all for listening to this episode of Living Well with MS. Remember that there is a wealth of information at overcomingms.org. Once again, that's overcomingms.org. There you can find OMS-friendly recipes and exercise tips, connect with other OMSers in your local area through our OMS Circles program, and learn about the latest research going on in the MS world generally and related to OMS specifically. I encourage you to register on the site and stay informed about the latest news and updates. I also encourage you to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode, and please feel free to share it with others who might find it of value. Let us know what you think about the podcast by leaving a review, and if you have ideas for future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. So please contact us via our website overcomingms.org. Thanks again for listening and for joining me on this journey to overcoming MS and living well with multiple sclerosis. I'm Jeff Alex, and I'll see you next time.